everybody. Welcome to the Abroaders Travel Podcast, your weekly meetup with thousands of entrepreneurs, hustlers, creators, nomads, ninjas, wanderers, and world changers, all seeking to build the skills and connections to live a life without borders. If you want to learn more about what we do or download our entire podcast archive, check out the website, abroaders.com. Happy Wednesday morning and welcome to another episode of the Abroaders Podcast. I'm Erik here with AJ in a little phone booth at the Capital Factory headquarters here in Austin. And this is episode 173.
Yeah, to give you guys an idea, so it's a co-working space that, obviously isn't the best place to record or have a phone call. So they've got these little phone booths that are designed for one person, but we figured out a way to get both of us in here and set up the microphone so we can try to get some decent quality for you guys. But yeah, man,
we got a good show today. So we've got some news and updates. We're going to talk a little bit about the Air France promo awards, a new announcement from Hilton about being able to pool points, and are going to just kind of talk through some changes. There's a couple of interesting credit card offers that we're going to go through quickly in news and updates. And then in today's core content, we're going to talk about the Citi Advantage offers because both the business and the personal card are now up to 60,000 miles, which is pretty much an all-time high for those cards. And so we're going to focus in the core content on how you can actually use those points and just do a refresher because we haven't talked about the American program in a while. So talk about some of the ways to book.
Yeah, run down region by region on what those points will get you and any sweet spots that we've come across or that we know about. So
yeah, the good news is that this sign-up bonus alone is good enough to get you a round trip in economy to most places in the world. There's a couple places where you got to figure out how to get an extra 5,000 or 10,000 points, and we'll talk about ways that you can boost that
either way, no matter the way you look at it, if you get this card, you're guaranteed to have a really cheap flight anywhere in the world, even if you have to buy 5,000 miles. Right. Like you can get a flight much less than you could find it on Kayak or Orbitz.
All right, so let's start with the news items for today. First up, we talked about this a little bit last week with the Amex Business Platinum card. We, I believe, just kind of covered that they had changed the amount of time that it took for that 50% points rebate to post. And so we wanted to give you guys an update because new information has been released about what they're planning to do with that benefit. And unfortunately, it's a pretty substantial devaluation to the benefit, I think, like many other cases where the people running the loyalty programs don't necessarily know how popular a feature is going to be and how expensive it's going to be. And so Amex has now changed that 50% rebate to a 35% points back rebate when you book through the website. So a quick refresher in case you missed last week's show, when you use the Amex Business Platinum to buy a ticket on business or first class, it can be for any airline, and you can essentially redeem points. So if it's $1,000 ticket, you would redeem 100,000 Amex points, and they will give you 50% of those points back. And they're now changing that to 35%. So it's a pretty big difference there. The other thing, though, that's really important is if you already have the card, they are going to honor that 50% rebate for a full year. So if you signed up in August, you've got it until next August. And the really good news is you've still got a window to sign up now and get it for a full year from now. So if you open the Amex business card or you upgrade from, say, the business gold rewards card and upgrade to the business platinum, you're still going to get a full year.
So this is something that I don't know if it's fair to call it a no-brainer, but this is a really, really, really good card for people that buy business class flights because of this benefit. There's the benefit in economy class, but you have to declare, you have to pick your horse. But any business class flight you buy, you get this benefit, which is pretty massive.
And by pick your horse, you mean you have to pick an airline that's your chosen airline.
Yeah, you have to designate a economy airline that you're going to get this benefit on.
Yeah, so. And it's the same airline, by the way, that you also get the $200 airline fee credit. So it's the same thing. If you pick American, you're going to get 50% back on paid flights with American and economy, and you get that $200 fee credit. But again, it's going from 50% cash points back to 35. And then do remember, already they have changed the way that those points post. So instead of in the next couple of days, people are probably going to be waiting as because 6 weeks.
Because the key thing too is, in the past it was feasible to book your award if you had enough points, wait for your rebate, and then book your companion's award because that would give you enough points. But now that's off the table. So.
Yeah, so this is going to be more valuable for people that have tons of points. Anyways, we've got a link in the show notes here to a really good article that explains this in quite a bit more detail, thanks to 1 Mile at a Time. So if you're interested, if you already have the Amex Business Platinum or are considering getting it before the May 31st deadline, Now's definitely a good time if you're going to sign up. You want to do it this month. So we got more information for you guys to read up on that.
Well, man, to counter your like not so great news with some pretty good news,
yes,
we've got some great news with Hilton Honors. So, long story short, they are letting you combine points with other people that don't have to be friends, don't have to be family. I mean, you'd probably want them to be your friends, but there's no tricks about address or your spouse or whatever. So, it's actually up to 11 people can pool points. I don't see a way that would be all that beneficial, like from my experience, but this does give you a chance if you're traveling with a buddy and they've got half the amount of points you need and you've got half the amount of points you need, you create what's called a pool and both people opt in, verify that they're going to move their points there, and you can transfer your points into this pool and you can book from this pool. So that's pretty cool. It seems fairly straightforward as far as signing up for it goes. You create a pool. It's like the place that you're going to hold your points, and then you can invite people to it and they can contribute. And as would be expected, you got to have at least 1,000 points to do the transfer. That's the minimum, but each person can contribute up to 500,000 points a year.
Yep.
So that's substantial.
And that's on the outbound. So if you're rallying all your friends to receive, it's
millions.
2 million. Yeah. So that's a really good deal. One reason you might want to do this, let's say, you and your spouse both have pretty healthy Hilton balances. If one of you has elite status, you can take advantage of those benefits that you get with your
put all your
status.
points behind the status holder.
Exactly. So move those points into the account that has Hilton Gold or Hilton Platinum status. And keep in mind the Amex Business Platinum that we were talking about just a minute ago. One of the benefits of that card is a free upgrade to Hilton Gold, which is a pretty nice mid-tier hotel status, gives you access to the lounges. We took advantage of that in Bangkok, and it can be really nice depending on the property. So something definitely to keep in mind. And we've got a link as well that kind of runs through all the rules and regulations regarding the points pooling feature.
Yeah, so we've got a few pieces here on earning points that we're going to go through pretty quick. The first one is Hyatt credit card offer. So things have changed a little bit. They've got a $50 statement credit. This offer has typically had the 2 free nights as a sign-up bonus after you spend $2,000 in the first 3 months. So this is pretty nice, $50 statement credit. One thing to note, though, the annual fee is not waived. It's $75. So essentially what you're doing is you're going to pay $25 to get a couple free nights, and you're going to get, at the anniversary of your card each year, you're going to get a free night. Yep. So, considering $75 annual fee, if you travel a lot, you should stay ahead on this a little bit. And if you're, inspired to earn, Hyatt points, you've got a card that will enable you to do that.
Yeah, the couple of things about the Hyatt. So number one, Hyatt doesn't have a huge number of properties globally, so it's not going to be nearly as available as something like Hilton or Marriott. If you're in more obscure places, it's sometimes harder to find a hotel. But like you said, if you're going to be traveling quite a bit, it's pretty easy to conceive that you're going to be able to use 2 free nights with Hyatt. And there's a huge advantage to going after some of the more aspirational type properties.
Yeah, exactly.
They've got a Central Park overlooking hotel in New York City. They've got the hotel in the Maldives that's over the water. So there's all kinds of cool opportunities to use these credits. That's something way more exciting. Than just a regular hotel.
You can make that credit punch above its weight. A couple final notes about this. Card comes with Discover status, which is, I believe, the lower level of a status, but status nonetheless. And a final thing, this is a Chase card, but frequent miler who is pretty reliable. Yep. We've got a lot of respect for him. Claims that this is not subject to 524, which is
and that has been verified by some of our people too. So if you're over 524, this is still on the table for you. They're just not going to check how many cards you've opened in the last 2 years. That said, it does count against 524. So if it's between this and the Chase Sapphire card, you've got one slot left. Definitely do this card after you've
exhausted the 524.
Okay, so next up, we've got a slight change to the Alaska Airlines Visa offer. And the main reason, the change isn't that big. It's still 30,000 points after your first purchase. But the card comes with a companion pass, which is sort of like the Southwest one, but not as good. Where if you book a ticket, you can get a companion fare, which usually costs a $100 fee, $99 plus taxes and fees. And with your first one, as part of this sign-up offer, as long as you spend $1,000 in the first 90 days, you don't have to pay that $100 fee. Nice. So it's not a huge change one way or another, but definitely better than it was before. And this card also has no foreign transaction fees and free check bags on Alaska. If you've got lots of cards with Chase, Amex, and Citi, this one's issued by Bank of America, so it's a good opportunity to get to a relationship with a different bank. Now, one really important thing I wanted to mention, because we've run into this with a couple of people.
This has been frustrating.
So Bank of America has this really non-transparent way that they evaluate your credit. And if you apply for this card with the 30,000 point sign-up offer and you have relatively low credit, actually, I think even people with somewhat decent credit.
I mean, stuff can be funky on the way that the banks do stuff with cards.
So what they do is some people are getting approved for a Platinum Plus card, which is not the Visa signature card. And that one only has a 5,000 point offer. And the problem is you're not going to know until you submit your application and they tell you what card product you're approved for. So if you're interested in this 30,000 point offer, be aware that there's a slight risk that you're going to apply for a card, and because your credit's not quite high enough or you don't have enough income, they may approve you for a card that doesn't actually give you this full bonus. It's a slight risk. I think if you're over, say, 740 in terms of credit score, you're pretty likely to get the Visa signature version. But we had some people in the 680s, 670s that actually got approved for the other card.
Is this something you could call them up and say, hey, I saw this offer. Seems like a great offer. You were telling me how good this offer is and what these points will get me, but I had a buddy that applied for this card and they somehow only got 5,000 points. How does that work? Do you think you could call and get some type of confirmation as to which you'd be approved for over the phone? Or?
Maybe. There might be a pre-approval way to check that, but probably not without a hard
Because,
pull.
I mean, for all the regulations that there are about credit cards and how they've got to be transparent about the APR and everything, it just seems like it seems like bullshit that, they would kind of bait and switch.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for sure. The last credit card offer is the one we're going to talk about in the core content. That is the Citi Advantage cards, the business and personal. So let's skip that for now. And we've got a couple of booking travel related things. Let's touch on Air France and Qatar Airways. Let's start with the Qatar thing, because this is a pretty cool promotion.
Yeah, man. So what does Qatar do in there? They're going to give you a free hotel credit for an overnight stay in Doha, yes. Qatar. So if you get in at night and you got your next flight coming out in the morning, they will put you up for free. I didn't look enough into this as to like which hotels are participating. Do they have a hotel that you will go to, or you get a certain budget? Or
I think there's a couple of hotels. The really nice thing, and this is kind of rare, is this is for all cabins. So this includes regular economy tickets, not even premium economy. Just like if you're in coach, this is still available. So Qatar will offer a 96-hour visa, a transit visa, so that you can hop out of the airport. So that's something that's really easy to get set up, and it's free. And you'll also get a free night at a hotel. The way that you do this, you just need to book through Qatar Airways. So this is something you can't do through Orbitz or Google Flights or whatever. You have to actually book through the Qatar website. And once you've actually received your flight confirmation, then you can go back in and choose your hotel and get that sorted out as well. So this is definitely something where if I were transiting through the Middle East, I would try to choose Qatar Airways.
Try to go out of my way to do that. Just have a night in Doha, wander around, see something. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very awesome. So props to them. I think this is a collaboration between the airline and their tourism board. I know that Qatar in particular and some of the other Middle East carriers are pretty heavily subsidized, and I think the mission of that is that they want to promote tourism. And so this is a way of getting people that are passing through to actually check out the city and hopefully generate some tourism.
Yeah, we actually, I know a couple people. We both know one of our friends, Freddie, visited Doha to see another friend that I know from Michigan State who's one of the strength coaches there.
Yeah.
And he said it was interesting. Like I asked the girl that was doing some teaching there about it, and she actually really enjoyed her experience, but she said it was strange. I mean, it's pretty interesting because she's like a very devout Christian, and it's not that they don't jive with that, but that's just not how they roll.
Yep.
But she said it was a pretty cool experience. That it was interesting, and she enjoyed her time there. I think she was there for maybe a year or two and had a really good time. So I'm kind of curious about that.
Very cool. Next up, we've got Air France. Promo awards are out for the awards that you can book in the month of May.
Yeah, got three that are pretty good in business class. So these promos do get up to 50%, but we've got three options that you can get to Europe in business class from North America. And to give you an idea of what a 25% discount means, that means that it's going to take the price down to just under 47,000 points. So
one way. Yep.
Yeah, one way. So this is really good for a few reasons. Number one, it's business class between North America and Europe for under 50,000 points. Two, Air France is one of the power players that allows you to toss some SPG, toss some Amex, Citi, Chase. Yes, they accept all the transferable currencies.
So the only difference here with the locations, Boston's got a little bit longer of a travel window. So with the Boston flights to Europe, and by the way, you can connect anywhere in Europe. So you may connect either on KLM through Amsterdam or through Air France through Paris, and you can connect to anywhere else in Europe, including Israel, which with Air France's chart is part of Europe, which is really rare and way more expensive with other programs. So that's one really good thing. But for the booking window, it's in May to book the ticket, but you can actually travel from July 1st to August 31st. So you've got a 2-month travel window for the Boston departures. And then with the JFK to Paris and Mexico City to Europe, those ones are travel from August 1st to August 31st. So just a 1-month window for those ones.
I think this deal is actually a little bit better than we're giving it credit for. Air France is going ahead and they're going to say New York to Paris, business class in the summer, discounted for you. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how good the availability is on that route. But last time I checked, I mean, there's definitely some. I mean,
now's the time. It's limited supply.
Yeah, and it started today.
Yeah, today. So we're recording on Monday, so it's going to be May 3rd when this episode comes out. So only a couple days ago these were published. So if you're keen on any of those, give it a look and remember that all of your transferable points go to Air France.
Awesome. Okay, so we got a few random stories. I wanted to just chat with you about this situation with Alitalia because, it's really unclear what's going to happen here. I think that I would probably be careful about booking flights operated by Alitalia moving forward. It's not clear whether this airline is going to survive another couple of months.
Well, George has a flight booked on Alitalia in June, I believe. So George, we got him a really nice award, a direct flight from Austin to London on British Airways, but he's going to go to Italy with some friends, and that's on Alitalia. So it was funny. We were chatting about this the other night, and George is like, oh, shit, I think I've got, my flight's on Alitalia.
So just for context, the reason Alitalia has been hemorrhaging money for the better part of a decade, and the Italian taxpayer has already bailed out 7 billion euros worth of inefficiency and inability to make money by Alitalia. So the public funds have been used to give the airline $7 billion.
Do you know what the population of Italy is?
No, but not
40 million?
People. Yeah, maybe something like that.
So that would be the equivalent of, like, in the United States, like $65 billion of taxpayer money going to, like, Delta or going to American Airlines.
It's a really strange situation. So the most recent news was basically that they had a proposed bailout that was going to require the employees to sort of swallow a bit of
take a haircut,
pay decrease, and they resoundingly rejected this proposal, which means that because the employees union didn't get on board, the airline can't move forward with their plan, and they're not going to get those bailout funds. So as of now, they have a few weeks of operating cash. It looks like they're going to essentially, the government is going to give them a line of credit until the airline can be sold. So what may happen, maybe we're going to see airplanes getting auctioned off to other airlines, and maybe we see somebody like Lufthansa Group or one of the big airline groups step in and acquire all the assets of the airline and just sort of strengthen themselves.
From the sounds of it, it doesn't sound like a very good target for acquisition. If I'm hypothetically a CEO of the British Airways Group or the Lufthansa Group, I'm saying, all right, well, these guys lose money. Their employees don't understand that, like, they're not going to get bailed out forever. They've got a bad reputation on some service stuff. Like, why would I do that unless you want to just kind of do a pretty hardcore business move and just fire people and replace them with your people? I don't know.
Well, anyway, so take extreme caution with bookings that are going to be operated by Alitalia until we find out a little bit more about the stability of the airline over the next few months. And there are some other options within Europe for SkyTeam. So I'd be looking at Air France and KLM wherever possible to be able to complete either Delta bookings or other SkyTeam Alliance bookings. Try and avoid those Alitalia flights for now until we know whether those flights are actually going to be operated.
Yeah, unless you get a hell of a deal and you're willing to take the risk. So this is something that I thought was interesting, but the more I think about it, I'm not surprised. So Southwest says they're going to discontinue flight overbookings.
Yes.
This is something Delta does. This is something United famously did and still does. Pretty much everyone does it, but JetBlue, actually, we need to give them credit. JetBlue just doesn't do it. They haven't done it. And Southwest is going to join them in that. And I think it's not all that surprising considering the way Southwest has positioned themselves in the market as being different, not being followers. But I thought that was pretty cool. I've got a lot of respect operationally for what Southwest does. They've done a hell of a lot to be able to compete in a really competitive market.
They're really profitable. They're just a very efficiently well-run airline.
And speaking of overbooking, another anecdote, I cannot believe this. So one of our customers, I will not name because I don't know if she would want us talking about me seeing her Facebook feed, but it was yesterday, and she was on a flight, I think maybe to New York, and it was a United flight, and it was overbooked. And they were only offering $300 to bump you, and nobody was taking it. So I mean, what the hell, guys?
Don't know how that worked.
But yeah.
Okay, so last up for random news, I just wanted to mention this, and this looks like a pretty interesting app that allows you to book hotel rooms by the minute. So this is like for a situation, especially in expensive hotel markets. Maybe you've just got a super long connection and you want to hop over to the airport hotel and just take a little nap. Maybe you've got an important phone call that you need to make. You need a quiet space. And so this app is basically working with some really nice hotel properties. Some of the big chains, I know Hyatt and Hilton are on board with some of their properties. And instead of booking a one-night stay, you can book a 3-hour stay for a discounted price.
By the way, I think it's really smart positioning on their part to consider it pay by the minute, because pay by the hour has such a negative connotation from a lot of people. You know, right. It's in music lyrics, it's in movies.
Is what you think
so even if it's going to be 120 minutes, sounds better than 2 hours for them.
Yeah,
but that's cool, man. There's a lot of times I would have taken advantage of something like that. And I know a lot of friends travel, and when they've had long layover or something, they'd prefer just to take a 20-minute taxi and go take a 6-hour nap if they don't have lounge access or whatever. It can make a lot of sense.
So the app is called Recharge, and we're going to post a link in the show notes if you want to check it out. They don't have a ton of availability right now. It's just San Francisco and New York, but definitely cheering for these guys. Hope that their business model gets some traction and they're able to expand to some other cities. But those are the two of the big places where hotels can be super expensive, and this could be a really nice deal for folks in the right situation.
Yeah, man. One more thing before we dive into the core content. We've been putting this off. This has been in our notes, and just want to give a shout out to Steve Appleton.
Okay.
Thanks for your notes, Steve. And by the way, for those listeners that don't know, we don't mention his name enough. Stephen Appleton he's followed us for a long time, and he's been very loyal to us in many ways. So thank you for that, Stephen. But his feedback was, another good episode. He loved the International Jam. I'm trying to think which one it is. We'll have to look back.
I think this was the Enjoy the Flight.
Okay.
The one looked like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, but the tidbit that he gives that I think is good to know, and I think we've touched on this before, but I think we left it out when we were most recently talking about this subject, is he says, one thing I don't think you mentioned is that Chase Ultimate Rewards points earned on a Premier card should be used or transferred before you close or downgrade that. I know we've said it before, but I'm sure we've missed it as well. So Steven says, I didn't do this before I downgraded the Sapphire Preferred to the regular Sapphire, and that caused the points to be stranded. So they can be transferable again if we were to open up another Premier card, but he's not able to do that because he's over 524. So now he's got to sit on
yeah, really good feedback. Sorry to hear that you ended up with that situation.
Yeah, but thanks for the feedback, Stephen.
Yeah, hopefully that helps a couple of other people avoid that. Okay, so last thing before we do the core content on American Airlines, I have a booking success story came through from Janelle. We booked a total of 3 flights for Suzanne and her family to get to Hawaii over the holidays. And so this is stopping in Los Angeles to spend Christmas with the family. I thought this one was really cool just because a lot of times holiday travel can be a challenge in terms of availability. And this is a really good time to start looking at Christmas and New Year's. You're beating a lot of people to the punch. So was really glad to see this worked out. This was a Delta redemption that cost $5.60 in taxes. I wanted to share a little bit more about the strategy of this one because this is something that Janelle actually had to book in a couple of different separate awards, and the reason being because of this holiday situation, Korean Air would have been a great choice if it were available at the saver level with Delta because they have better pricing. It's cheaper in miles to book from the US to Hawaii on the Korean Air award chart, and that just wasn't available. The Delta was at like the second saver level or the third saver level, but because of the holidays and just like the extremely high cost of these flights to buy, it still turned out to be a really, really good deal for Suzanne and the whole family. So this was a family of 4. Again, can be tricky even in economy to find seats together on the same flight. And they were able to get it done with a combination of Amex and Chase. So it looks like we used some Delta and then also used some United for one of the other sections. So congrats to those guys. And if you're considering a trip, especially around the holidays, definitely get in touch with Janelle and the booking team.
Yeah, the stats here saved over $7,600. I mean, that's some real money. Even if you're making good money and things are nice and easy, that's
just think what you can do in Hawaii with an extra $600. $7,000.
man.
You know, that's a big deal. Well, congrats to Suzanne, and I hope you guys enjoy your warm holiday in Hawaii.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, let's get to the American Airlines core content for today.
Yeah, so kind of set the table here. This has to do with the Citi Advantage Platinum Select bonus that the personal and business card are both at 60,000 points after. Is the business card 3K spend as well?
It is.
Okay, so they're both at 3K spend.
Atypical. Usually it's 5K for business. Let me give a quick run through of the general application rules and explain who can get this card. And then we can kind of talk over and transition into how you guys can use these 60,000 points. So first of all, the Citi cards are probably cards that you should look at after you've already taken care of the Chase cards with respect to 524. The business card doesn't count against you for 524. So the personal one's the only one that would set you back in that category. But Citi, like Chase, has some application rules. They're not the same, but you're eligible to apply for this card if you don't currently have the card and if you haven't opened or closed a card that earns American miles in the last 24 months. And the general rules for Citi, you can only open one card every 8 days. So you can't apply for these two cards on the same day. If you want to get both the business and personal, you got to apply for one and then wait 8 or 9 days and apply for the other one. So that's important to be aware of. And I think Citi also has a max of 2 cards every 65 days. So, you know, probably like this is a situation where if you don't have either of these cards or haven't in the last 2 years, you could potentially bring in 120,000 American miles. And we're going to get into in just a second all the ways that you can use those. But one last thing that a lot of people have trouble with, and this is certainly intentional by Citi, is that they have these sort of rules that group cards together in a family based on the type of points that they earn. So the two main families of Citi cards are the thank you cards. So that would be this Thank You Premier, Thank You Prestige, and the Preferred card. And then the AA cards would include like the Citi Platinum Select, which is the one with the great offer right now, and things like the Bronze and the Gold American Airlines cards. The reason I bring that up is that you're not eligible to open this Citi American Airlines card if you've opened or closed any personal card that earns Citi miles, that earns American miles in the last 2 years. So if you had an American Airlines Bronze card and you just like 6 months ago decided to close it, don't apply for this. But most people probably don't have a whole lot of action happening one way or another.
Now, when you're speaking about eligibility, are you talking about eligibility for the bonus or the card?
For the bonus.
Okay, so that's a really important thing because you could get stuck with a card without a bonus and set the clock once again to put yourself another 2 years out of taking advantage.
Exactly, and I'm sure that's why they do it. You know, they do it to be tricky. This is like one of those situations. If you're not sure, this is a great situation where sign up for the free Broaders account and let us know which cards you have and roughly when you open and close them, and we'll do all the work to tell you if you're eligible. So if whatever I just said made your eyes roll back in your head and you don't want to think about it, let us know which cards you've got and we'll sort out whether you're eligible. But assuming you are, this could be a really good deal. So we're going to run through some of the things that you could do with those 60,000 or 120,000 miles. One other thing just to mention here, there's currently a bonus for transferring hotel points to American Airlines. And so if you have SPG points, you could potentially top up. At this point, 20,000 SPG is actually going to turn into 31,250.
So it's a bonus American. On top of a bonus.
Yep, it's a 25% bonus. And like you said, you get that 5,000 point bonus just across the board with SPG. So if it ends up after we talk through some of these destinations and how much it would cost, if you're a little bit short, keep in mind that SPG is a good option. And the transfer bonus from hotels to American is available through June 15th. So you've got a month and a half here to be able to top up that American Airlines balance to make those bookings. Okay, so let's go through the program, the general basics about American Airlines. They're part of One World Alliance, so they've got access to all the One World airlines with their miles. So that's going to be Air Berlin, British Airways, Cathay Pacific, Finnair, Iberia, Japan Airlines, LAN, Malaysia, Qatar, Qantas, Royal Jordanian, S7, Sri Lankan, and TAM. So it's a great alliance. There's tons of options. And they also have like 7 or looks like 9 independent partners. The most significant of those are going to be Etihad and Alaska and Hawaiian. So those are the 3 that are sort of the important non-affiliated
I actually
ones.
I did a mileage run on Etihad before they changed their earning rules a couple years ago.
Yeah. So there's some good ones, but also there's kind of a niche one with Air Tahiti and Fiji Airways. Those are some good ones if you're going to...
Shout out to VJ Singh.
To the South Pacific. So there's some great options to use American miles. And let's take people through the just sort of general region-based stuff. We put together some notes on Africa, Europe, Asia, and South America. Those are some of my favorite places to use AA miles.
Yeah, where do you want to start? Want to start with South America?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so the way that American Airlines looks at South America is South America 1 and South America 2. So it's 2 regions. And I used to consider Northern South America and Southern South America as which more or less what it is, but there's a weird thing with Venezuela being grouped in Southern South America. So South America 1, this region would be Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, and here's the kicker, the surprise, Manaus, Brazil.
Okay.
So Brazil is generally in South America too, but if you're flying to Manaus, which is in the Amazon, it's in northwestern Brazil, that gets grouped into South America 1. And these prices are really nice from the United States. You've got off-peak one-ways and economy at $17,500. The saver level is $20K. And what's really nice is it's $30K in business class saver too. So you could technically get a business class flight from JFK to Manaus, Brazil, round trip for 60,000 points.
Yeah. On
a pretty good airplane. I actually did a little bit of homework. It's not the best of first class, but it's proper, well worth the points. And it retails over $3,000. So,
wow. And by the way, tickets, if you actually do want to go to Manaus and you're not just connecting to get further into South America, the paid flights to Manaus are super
expensive, man.
So.
Economy are typically well over $1,000. Cheapest business class I found is about $3,000. And the award availability is wide open. A lot of $30K business class and even some 17.5s. Now, South America 2, where there's still great value, is Argentina, the rest of Brazil, Chile, Paraguay, Uruguay, and Venezuela. So these are going to be $30K one way in economy class and 57.5 in business class. So you notice a pretty interesting jump there. It's only an extra 10,000 points to go business class to South America 1, but it's an extra 27,500 in South America 2. And I guess some final notes about this stuff is even though it's an extra 10,000 miles in economy class, this is still a good value because I look up flights to Buenos Aires, Argentina, look up flights to Southern South America, way further down south than you think, and those are expensive.
It's a long ride.
Cheapest flight I found to Buenos Aires today was in under 24 hours. The itinerary was $1,600 in economy class.
Wow.
That was the cheapest one under the other ones were like 38-hour itineraries, and it's still $1,200.
All right. So moving east now, let's talk about Africa, because Africa is one of the hardest places to book with any type of points. And American is actually not really the ideal program to book to Africa. And so this is actually a good opportunity to explain their routing rules, which basically say that in most cases, you can't transit another region to get to a region. Mm-hmm. And Africa is one of those places where there's not very many direct flights from the U.S. And so the important thing to know if you're considering American miles to get to Africa is that there's an exception from North America to Africa if you route via Doha, which is nice in the sense that, there's a lot of flights in terms of availability here. Now, you do have to buy the ticket, so you can't stack the free hotel night that we were talking about earlier. But if you book on a Qatar Airways flight from the U.S. to Doha and Doha to your final destination in Africa, you're not going to get charged a double rate. So with most times where you transit another region, they charge you U.S. to Middle East.
Yeah, or if you stopped and say Dubai, you'd get dinged to Middle East and then Middle East Africa.
Exactly. So the way to shortcut and get the good price, which is $40,000 each way in economy, is by going through Doha. And so that's still a viable option. There is a decent amount of award availability there, especially for economy. So that's a good option. But overall, I would say Africa is probably the type of place where United miles are going to be better just because they don't have that weird routing rule. And they also have a ton of partners in Europe, which is the most logical place to connect. You're flying a little bit further than Africa to get to Doha, so there's some extra travel time there as well. What else do we got? We've got Europe and Asia.
Let's jump into Asia. So they keep it simple with Asia. There is Asia 1 and Asia 2 as far as the regions. Asia 1 is Japan and Korea. Asia 2 is Hong Kong and mainland China. And the thing to note about these is the prices are pretty much the same until you get a premium cabin space. So you've got 32.5 one-way off-peak, and then 35K for Sabre. So not a huge deal to find the off-peak dates. If you're not traveling off-peak and they have Sabre availability, it's still going to be a similar deal. The only thing to take note of is if you are going to head to Asia in, say, first class, that's where there's a big gap. So Asia 1 is $80,000 or 80,000 miles in first class, and it's 110,000 to Asia 2.
Okay, so Asia 2 is the southern part of Asia. Asia 1
Hong Kong and China
is Korea and Japan. Yeah. So Asia 2 is going to include Southeast Asia, like Thailand and Vietnam and stuff like that as well. And so, a pretty good opportunity. There's a ton of flights from the West Coast. So there's a lot of ways. One thing you do have to be aware of, again, you can't route from the U.S. to Asia via Europe. So you gotta go the other way around and go directly.
Another nice thing about heading to Asia with American Miles is their partners are really solid. So, just Cathay Pacific and Japan Airlines alone are a couple of really good airlines. And another final thing, too, I've got in my notes here is that British Airways website is probably going to be your best friend when you're looking for availability here. You're probably going to have to look on British Airways, find the flight that works for you, then ring American Airlines and tell them you found a flight, and they'll book it over the phone.
All right. Well, I've actually got a cheat sheet for that coming up. But before we get into the logistics of actually booking the tickets, I want to cover Europe real quick. So Europe is another place where American Airlines miles can be a really good value, 30,000 to 35,000 in economy. And I believe it's going to be 57.5 up to maybe 70 in business class. The airlines you want to prioritize are American operated flights, Finnair, and Iberia, and Air Berlin. And the reason for that is that they're going to have much lower fuel surcharges than booking on a flight operated by British Airways. So at all costs, if possible, you want to avoid flying over the Atlantic on a plane with BA painted on the tail. That's going to save you anywhere from $400 to $1,000 in taxes and fees. If it's an economy ticket, the fees are a little bit lower, but it really wipes out the value of the award. So you want to look for that award availability. And that's a really good segue to some more information about how to book and actually research your flight before you call, because anybody that's spent time on hold with an airline knows it's not the best thing, best way to spend your Saturday afternoon. And you want to know what's available before you call. Otherwise, you may make a phone call and just find out the agent couldn't find anything. So for searching for the airlines that you can actually book a seat on, the AAA website does cover a few of their partners. So you can find American flights, obviously, and you can also find Alaska, Hawaii, British Airways, Finnair, and Air Berlin. So using American Airlines website, you can see the availability for all those partners. The partners that are not available, that are pretty useful, are going to be Qantas, Cathay Pacific, Iberia, Sri Lankan, and S7. Those are all covered by the British Airways website.
I'm pretty sure Japan Airlines is as well.
Yes, Japan Airlines as well. So if you want to book one of those tickets, instead of calling AA first, go to the British Airways website and search for availability, and you'll see what seats are for sale.
Yeah, and the price should be irrelevant. The price in miles British Airways tells you just in one ear, out the other. All you need to know is that there's a seat.
Yeah, it's a yes/no. Is the seat's there or it's not? Ignore the price. But knowing that the seat's there is really helpful. It's going to save you a bunch of time. The other partner is just a quick run through. If you want to book something on Fiji Airways, you can use Alaska's website to look for that. And if you want to book something on Etihad, you want to use Etihad's website to see, and you're looking for the Guest Saver Awards. So all those ones that are not included on the AA website, those ones you're going to have to call when you actually want to book your ticket. Now, be aware, you can get a waiver for the phone fee. It's a $35 fee, and they usually try and charge you even though they're not supposed to. So if it's not possible to book on the AA website, ask them to waive the fee. If they say no, ask for a supervisor. They will waive the fee. We never pay it. So it's like if you talk to enough people, you're going to get the fee waived. The other thing to know about booking with American is they offer a glorious 5-day hold.
That is pretty nice.
The only exception there is it's not available if you're booking less than 7 days in advance. So for super close in booking, usually you're going to get either a 24 to 48 hour hold. And that's
either way, as a rule of thumb, you'd prefer to book your AA stuff 21 plus days out because of the closing booking fee. Is that still $75 a person?
It is. So you can save $75 by booking 3 weeks in advance or more, and you still get that 5-day hold. And the nice thing about the 5-day hold is the SPG transfers that we were talking about with that 25% bonus, those usually take 2 to 3 days. So you've got enough time, in other words, to see that the flight's available, put it on hold, transfer your points, and it's still on hold when your points arrive. So there's no risk of losing the ticket. And that's super rare. Any of the programs that don't have instant transfer, you're typically just rolling the dice, and you don't know if somebody else is going to book that seat before you get to it. So that's definitely worth keeping in mind. One note that I wrote down that I just wanted to mention is that if you are taking advantage of SPG to AA, they say that the bonus points, are going to post in 9 business days. Kind of an obscure number. 9's what they say. So just be aware, like that 2 to 3 days, that will be enough. If you transfer 20,000 SPG points, you're going to get 25,000 American miles within 2 to 3 days. The additional 6,800 miles or whatever that are coming in, those might be delayed by a few days. So if those are critical to your booking, you need to be aware of that and know that the 5-day hold isn't going to cover you for all those bonus points to post.
Yeah. That's good stuff, man. I think that's really just the high level basics as far as booking American. I mean, short recap, they've got a zone-based chart, which means, the regions will have a flat rate price depending on which region it is. We'll link in the show notes to their chart. It's really straightforward. And yeah, I hope you guys found some sweet spots in there that sounded good to you as far as, picking up 60,000 points from this card, or you already have AA miles and putting them to work.
Yeah, and I guess the last thing, just to recap, going back to the credit card bonus, if you get this sign-up bonus, you've got enough for North America to Hawaii, Alaska, Canada, all the places in the Caribbean, Mexico, Central America, all of South America, and Europe in economy, round trip for 60,000 points.
Yeah.
The places that are a little bit more expensive, those are in the 70 to 80,000 points for economy round trip. That would be Middle East, Africa, India, Asia, and South Pacific. You'll need a few extra points, but basically one credit card sign up is going to get you this trip. So this is a great opportunity. This is one of the cards we don't get paid on.
And I believe the annual fee is waived the first year.
It is.
So, I mean, I know that like really irks some people, and I would urge listeners, like, if there's a small annual fee and you're getting a flat out of it, who cares if it's waived? It's worth it. But for people that it really matters to wait for the first year. So if you really wanted to take them to the cleaners on this, you could, you could.
So a lot of times when we talk about a specific card, and we really appreciate this, we get tons of emails. Hey, do you guys have a link? Can we support you? This is one where there is no affiliate link that we have access to. This is just way better than the offer. We have like a 30,000 point sign up bonus.
So that's something, jump in here real quick. Yeah, that's one thing we do. Like Eric said, make money from credit cards from time to time with our affiliate links, but we're always gonna promote the best card for you guys. And this is one of those instances where we're going to send you to the best offer as opposed to sending you through the link that we make money on that's a worse offer. And that's we will always do that.
So thank you to all you guys that are always emailing and asking, hey, I'm thinking about signing up for this card. Can I get your link? If you do want to take advantage of this, we've got a link in the show notes. It'll just take you straight through to the Citibank website, to the application. And if you're ready to book your ticket with AA miles, reach out. Happy to help you guys get this sorted out and make sure you get the cheapest prices and points, and work on those routings and things like that to avoid the big fuel surcharges and things like that. Thanks everybody for being with us. We'll be back next week.
Yeah, safe travels.
Hey brothers, don't be shy. Hop over to the website and join our email list for exclusive travel hacking content. If you like what we're up to, the best way you can support the show is by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes. Lastly, we would love to hear from you, so send your show feedback to Erik or AJ at abroaders.com. We will see you next week.